Today I'm going to be looking at these three here, HP OMEN, HP OMEN, HP OMEN. This is an HP OMEN, just HP OMEN, but it's a League of Legends edition. This was sent by HP to me to review. This is an HP OMEN Transcend, 14-inch. This is a 5070 model. I've reviewed the 5060 on my own. This is a 5070 model. HP decided to send me this, and I said yes. And then this is my own personal HP OMEN Max. This is the AMD model. I haven't reviewed the AMD model yet. I've only done the Intel model in the past. So I got this one myself, this is mine, to review the AMD offering to see how it's different and if it's good. So when HP asked me if I wanted to review anything, and I was like, yeah, I can review some stuff. They sent me over a desktop, which I've already reviewed, a loaner, and then they sent me over these two laptops. I thought that would be super cool because I already had the HP OMEN Max. It was on its way, actually. I already just recently bought it. And I thought, you know what? I've never had all of these at the same time. Let's do a comparison here. And are you going to buy yourself, the just HP OMEN, in this case, the League of Legends one, the HP OMEN Transcend, in this case, the 14-inch one, or are you going to pick yourself the HP OMEN Max, in this case, the AMD one, but of course, there's the Intel model as well. And there's some different screen options and all kinds of stuff we can go over here. So let's look at the chassis. We'll look at the internals, and we'll look at some performance and stuff like that, audio, that kind of stuff. What makes these a little different from one another? Why would you consider one over the other? I mean, these are complicated questions, right? You go to the HP website, you type in HP OMEN, you look at their laptops, and a bunch of stuff comes up. Well, let's talk about what the differences are. Let's just have a quick peek at the HP website. We'll go with the American ones just for ease of use. I will put some links in the video description down below for I guess HP as well as Best Buy and other places. There'll be affiliate links if I can find them. And that'll help with supporting the channel because it helps me big time because I buy a lot of these things. Of course, they do obviously send me stuff to loan, but I still buy stuff all the time, so that helps. Feel free to not use it. It's your choice. Anyways, so here is the HP OMEN Max. This is the one that I have today. I bought this from the HP website. Obviously, you can get you can get a Ryzen 350, 375, 375. I got the 350 because I wanted to go with the cheapest model just to kind of see what you can get out of that. But you can see here, if you spend an extra $160, you go from the AMD Ryzen H350, which is an 8-core CPU, up to a 370, which is a 12-core CPU. There is a fairly noticeable performance jump between them. In gaming, maybe a little bit. But in other professional tasks, yes, there'll be a big jump there. So just be aware that is an option for you. It is $160 more, but it does bring you a lot more CPU. So just be considerate of that. You can also go all the way up to a 5080, your choice. I would not recommend the cheaper screen. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's not a bad screen by any means, but this is just a better screen, right? It's a higher refresh, 240 hertz instead of 165. Same color space and all that, a little bit brighter, and it's 1600p. And you can run with scaling, but all of these GPUs are easily able to drive 1600p. So I would highly recommend that. There is, of course, the the Intel models here. They come with a 255HX. You can get a 275HX. You can get a 5070 Ti. You can get all the way up to a 5080 or a 5090. And then there is the this one here, which we're looking at, and this is the League of Legends one, just an HP OMEN 16. There's a few different options here as well. I've seen the non-League of Legends one. They actually come with, you can get an AMD 8745HX, 8945HX, very powerful CPU, just different. And then you can get 5060 with those. This one here comes with a 14th gen processor, which I was kind of skeptical of in terms of like battery life and tuning, but it seems to be running okay in this laptop. Again, you'll see a little later, and you can get a 5070 in this one here. I've already reviewed the black one in a 5060. They sent over the kind of beefed up version of this black one here. It's got a 5070 and a 285HX, which is an incredible CPU. But the white one is really nice if you don't like black fingerprints, if you want to get that nice clean. It's just such a lovely laptop. One of these days I will review this effing white laptop here from. It's just so clean. Look at that. Okay, so let's have a look here. You can see me kind of reflected there. Obviously, we have one OLED offering and we have two non-OLED offerings, glossy OLED. So we'll go over a lot of things here. Obviously, there's a significant chassis difference. The 14-inch is the little portable guy, designed to be portable power, right? It's just how it's designed. It's not a pure gaming laptop. It's not, a pure full creator laptop. It's a hybrid laptop. That's what I call them when they focus on something in between. Portable power. You get some great performance, you get some great cooling, but it's not going to match the big boys. But you also get lots of portability at the same time, and you also get more power than some just generic consumer laptop. So it's a hybrid laptop. We have the HP OMEN Max over here, which is very much a gaming laptop, focused very heavily on performance and cooling. This thing has crazy good cooling, and that's a focus of it. So it's a true gaming laptop. Now it is fairly sleek gaming laptop, so it's not going to scream gamer. Obviously the RGB, I have it set to a nice little pink thing, but you could turn it off as well. It's just a nice sleek, right? Nice sleek kind of design. And then of course over here we have the HP OMEN 16. This one comes in a non-League of Legends, not like branded League of Legends one, which would of course be more discreet. This is the League of Legends edition, which does give more gamer vibe because of this, but it's still pretty damn sleek, right? I mean, it's not gonna be looking like some, I don't know, flashy boy gaming laptop. This is an MSI Vector, right? It's obviously a gaming laptop, right? So no one's gonna pick that up and be like, man, is that a ThinkPad you got there? No, they're gonna be like, what kind of gaming laptop is that? That's how that's gonna go. Whereas these ones, they're much more discreet. Here is a big, thick ThinkPad. This is a powerful ThinkPad, right? And it has some of the same discreetness, all of them, as something like this, which is a professional style laptop or consumer style laptop. So they offer some of that discreetness in a gaming package, 1.2, or a hybrid package. So I actually like these a lot. That's kind of how they are. Very portable. This is a nice premium hand feel, right? Metal design on this thing. Right, this is a premium feeling laptop, extremely rigid. It feels quite nice, very lovely. I'm going to bring in this one here. This is mine, the HP OMEN Max, which looks very similar. It's the exact same design language, but this one is a true gaming laptop, right? Has a lot of cooling in it. This one, because it has so much power, you can't go with USB-C for all that. You have to have a barrel plug. That's just their style. You can still charge it off USB-C, but that's not how it's focused. And you can see here, put that on top, right? So if you need portability, I mean, they're both portable, but if you need max portability, like messenger bag kind of portability, the OMEN Transcend is the way to go, right? The little 14-inch guy. It's significantly lighter and significantly more portable. We'll get into the weight in a sec here, but this you throw in a messenger bag. You could with this, but that's more of like, I'm gonna throw this in my backpack type thing. And then over here, we have the HP OMEN 16. This is my first time with one of these in quite a long time. And again, this is the League of Legends edition, so it's got the additional branding on it. If you get it without that, it doesn't have the the designs, so it'll look the same without the designs, right? Not quite as premium. It's still a nice laptop, but it has more plastic, right? It has more plastic design. It also costs a lot less. They're not like making it plastic and then being like, haha, got them, we're gonna charge the same. No, they lower the price. Like, it's just a different segment, but it still looks like the OMEN, right? It looks exactly the same almost as the OMEN Transcend. It's just using more plastic. So we'll open them up, but you can see here, the design language, they're all kind of similar. The OMEN Transcend on the left here, again, thin boy, Thunderbolt 4. So you do get your fast port over there, headphone. On the back there, you do get an HDMI out. You love that. You love to have HDMI out. Another USB-C, this is 10 gigabits, so you can also run enclosures off of that. But normally I would do the power into that one, and I would do the docks and things like that over there. And then on the right side, you get a couple USB-A. So decent port selection. Other than the power, which I won't really count, you get two USB-A, one USB-C. But of course, because it powers over USB-C and gets full power anyways, you can also run like a dock and then have those additional ones. So that's good. Pretty good for a thin, this is a very thin laptop. It's not gonna show up on camera, especially because the screen has a touch of thickness, but the actual laptop is absurdly thin. Like, I don't know, here's a USB. Like at the front. Like, this is a tiny ass laptop, right? You got to love it. This is the OMEN Max, mine. Two USB-C on the left, USB 4. If it's the Intel one, they're Thunderbolt 4. Here, the USB 4, the same thing. They're just not like certified. Headphone there. USB-A, fast USB on the back. That's the barrel plug. Ethernet, of course. HDMI out the back. So good ports there. And USB-A over there. So all fast ports on this and lots of ports on this. And the annoying one, the power and the HDMI come out the back, and Ethernet, of course. Here, same idea, USB-A. USB-C. One of these is forfeited and turned into a USB-A. That's okay. That's not going to be Thunderbolt or anything like that. On the back here, it's basically exactly the same. So the ports here are slower than over here. It's not as premium of a laptop. So just a little bit of a cost savings there to keep the cost down so that they can sell it to you at a reasonable price. Okay, let's have a quick peek inside of the three laptops. This is my primary laptop. I've been using it for a couple weeks, so I'm pretty comfortable with it. I've reviewed this one in the past. This one is new to me, so I don't have as much experience with it. But generally speaking, these are all well designed inside of the laptops. HP does a very good job with these. I mean, these are like, budget, these are high-end category. These are like upper budget category. And these are, of course, upper category as well. So they're not going to cheap out on any of these. And they do look quite good. The cooling in all of them is quite nice. The OMEN Max here uses a vapor chamber cooling. So even the fact that this has a 5070 Ti and an AMD 350 CPU, which are going to be more efficient than, for example, higher stuff like a 5080, 5090, they use the same cooling system on the laptop as the 5080, 5090 model, and also the same as when they're using the Intel 275HX. Hotter CPU, hotter GPUs on that one, and it's able to handle it. I've already tested it. This one here, you're getting the same cooling system on lower wattage components. So what happens here is they just run super cool and very quiet. So there's benefits to it, right? Very happy to see they didn't cheap out down the stack there. Some extra heat pipes in that as well. Good VRM coverage, some SSD coverage there. This one here also uses a vapor chamber. Now it's a little vapor chamber, of course. It's a very thin laptop, so they can't put as much of a vapor chamber on it, but they do a good job. Rather than putting in some crappy little heat pipes, they said, you know what, we're gonna put in a vapor chamber to make sure this thing runs respectable. And I respect that. Very good job, HP. I've already tested the 5060 one, it was good. And then the OMEN here, to keep the cost down a little bit, they did get rid of the vapor chamber, but there is a lot of copper in here, a lot of heat pipes. You get a triple heat pipe setup, lots of VRM coverage, so that should be fine. And the other thing is they all use good fans. These are deep fans, so they're high Z height, tall. And these, for the thickness of the laptop, are also fairly tall. And the curvature of the fan blades and the fans themselves do reduce noise turbulence. They're not going to make like whirring noises or be irritating, even when the fans are ripping. In terms of battery life, we'll have to see what the actual battery life is like. Spoiler, this good. 83 watt hour, 83 watt hour, 71 watt hour, all respectable for their categories there. Upgradability is good on all of them. This has two NVMe, two SODIMM slots, sorry. This one comes with 2 sticks. Of course, you can upgrade it. This does not have upgradable RAM. There's nowhere to put it, so it's fine. It's soldered. Just make sure you get the amount you want because it is soldered memory. That's just the way that it is. So that's good. Dual NVMe, 1, 2. Dual NVMe, 1, 2. Single NVMe, again, thin. There's nowhere to put it in this laptop. They would have to cut out some of the vapor chamber to add the second NVMe, so I'm totally fine with the way that this is. Of course, these bigger ones, they have made good use of it, and they have added in the second NVMe. The only weird thing is this one here, the OMEN Max, this like physical plate is actually tied into the cooling system. To access this one, you actually have to take off the whole cooling system, which in my opinion is a design oversight. They could just have that not connected, and you could pull it off, it'd be totally fine. But it's just, I mean, they're strapped for space, I guess. Not the biggest deal because most people these days will leave the primary operating system, NVMe, and just upgrade the second one, like regardless of which one you do. This is the only one you have to just swap the whole thing. Speakers, these have the budget category speakers, these kind of oval ones. They're whatever, like they'll get the job done, but they're nothing special. When you get into these more premium, the Transcend and the OMEN Max, you do get these rectangular speakers, which will sound a lot better. That's just the way they are, higher wattage, and just the design of them is better. Upgradable Wi-Fi, it's under there, but it's there. Reasonable, you probably have to take off the cooling to get that, but maybe not. There's the Wi-Fi there, and this one you can't access it. So good, I mean, they're fantastic inside. These OMENs, there's a reason why they're popular. I mean, there's lots of reasons why they're popular, but one of the reasons that they're popular, and one of the reasons I like them, is the internals are very good on them. Okay, so we'll just jump in here. Look at the keyboards. So they are different keyboards. You can see that this one has like a more traditional looking keyboard. And then the OMEN Max and the OMEN Transcend have this kind of, I don't know how to describe this. They look weird on camera, but when you actually start using them, they look nice. I don't know, it's just a strange design. But what they've done here is they put in, there's those keycaps, I think they're called like pudding keycaps. Is that right? It might be. Where they have like the black center in this case, and then they have like a full ring of transparent or translucent plastic around that so that the light can shine through. So you get very pronounced and very effective RGB. These still, I mean, they still have RGB, right? And you can still see it. But this is the traditional, like, let's shine, around the back of the keycap and you get what you get. This is like, I mean, we're in a bright room here, and this is like, obviously, like you're getting an RGB effect here, right? So it's lovely, right? It's going to be very, very, very lovely. Now, we do have a couple different effects here. We'll come into the OMEN software. We'll have to come in here to get this set up. We'll go into software in a moment, but we'll just get in here and show you some of the RGB stuff. Now, in these software, they're all the same software, OMEN, even for their desktops, it's the same. There's some like various things, but what you can do here is you can click on your laptop, OMEN Max, OMEN Transcend, you click on them there, and of course you do get access to performance controls, that kind of stuff, but we're not doing that yet. We're coming to lighting to start here because we're in the keyboard section here, and you get access to the keyboard. So the OMEN Transcend over here has a zonal keyboard, 1, you can see there, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can set up 4 zones. You can make it uniform across the whole thing. That's your option. Here, right, we can come in here, zone 1. All right, and I made like a little WASD, but I could also make it bigger, right? See that? See how it's changing? Right? So this is per key. It's different. Each key has its own RGB setup. This, there's lights behind them, but it has zonal. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here, each key, you can set it up how you want. So you could have, like, you could say, I want it to be, these 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, these are my, like, hotkeys in a game, right? Make those red. Okay, and then you can set up a new zone. And you could say, I want this to be, I don't know, that color, right? Something like that, and change them however you want. And you can set them up how you want. Like, it can be whatever zone you want it to be at that point. Cool, right? So you can set it up how you want, right? I'm not an RGB, like when I say RGB, I'm not like, I don't typically, let's get rid of this one. I don't typically use, multiple things. It's just not what I do. I typically go like that. And I put like a purple or a blue or something like that. That's just what I like. That's how I want it to be. Okay, here, come over here. And we have zones as well. So we have 1 zone, 2 zone, 3 zone, 4, and it's exactly the same idea. Right, so we can make that red, like that. Red and blue, that looks okay. That's fine. And then you can make these, like you could make these, like what is that, orange? So make this orange, make them the same. So we'll make that orange, like that. And we'll make that, actually that looks cool like that, blue and orange, right? So you can set it up how you want. So all of them have RGB, it's just these are zonal, 4 zonal, this is per key RGB. Pick what you want. Your choice. Now the actual keyboards, these are the same keyboard. It's just, this is shrunk. So this is, keyboard here is basically stuck here and shifted off to the sides. And so you have room for a numpad if you need a numpad. Typically in a lot of the 16-inch, you do get access to a numpad because people would want to crunch numbers. It's one feature of getting a larger laptop. On the 14-inch, you don't need that, right? You don't have room for it anyways. So you don't have the numpad. It's just something that's lost. A few of the keys are stretched out like just a tiny little bit because they're like, why not make it even? But generally speaking, it's not. Here as well, we also have a numpad. And so, these are standard size. Now these look weird. To be honest, these keyboards look weird. These OMEN Max ones. These are very nice keyboards, very, very nice keyboards. They are incredibly snappy, like super, super snappy. When you're typing, you can see fingerprints, super, super snappy keyboard. And I was worried when I first started messing with it, these don't actually have, let's zoom in. These don't actually have like a key separation. Like you can see there physically, there's very little to separate the keys from one another. And it basically just drops off. So I was worried that I would end up coming over here and accidentally hitting it. But there's enough separation between them that I don't. I never like hit the wrong key unless I like make a straight up typo. That's just like typo. It's not because of the keyboard. And yes, I've been using this laptop now for a few weeks for myself, but even like day one, I just started typing. I was like, man, this is a nice keyboard. Now I've become accustomed to it, and I really like this keyboard. I think these are like among the best in class. They are superb keyboards, both of them. They're excellent. Now let's come over here to this one. This is a more traditional keyboard, right? Like full separation between the keys, chiclet style. Right? These have tons of travel, so do these though. So, oops, that's a Copilot button. We don't want that. So we'll come in here and we'll just do a little quick type. We're in light mode. Interesting. Okay, we'll do a quick type here. So I'm typing at a little bit of an angle, and it's fine. I only had a couple typos. It's also a really nice keyboard. I actually prefer the OMEN Max, which is shocking just based on the way it looks. But this is rapidly approaching one of my favorite keyboards you can get right now. This is a very good keyboard. I have not only do I have no complaints, I actually have pretty much only praise. It is actually legitimately a very nice keyboard. Nice, snappy, doesn't feel like gummy or anything like that. It's just not quite as snappy as the the OMEN and the OMEN Max and the Transcend, but it's still a very nice keyboard. Very happy with that. So let's close that down. Now the trackpads are fairly different. None of them use like a glass trackpad or anything, but they're all pretty big, I guess. Like these are, for the size of this laptop, it's a really, really, really large trackpad. Really large trackpad for the size of it, but it's actually the same size as this and the same size as this. But let's, smooth, even smoother. There's a little bit of a different like paint coating between the two. Like the coating on the laptops, this has a more premium finish. These OMEN and OMEN Max and OMEN Transcend have very premium, I don't know how to describe it. They're more resistant to fingerprints. They get them, but they resist it more. And it's got like a, I don't know, like a satiny type paint. I don't know how to describe it. It's a smoother touch. This is more of a traditional plastic, right? Like there's a laptop plastic, not cheap, but it's just more traditional. And that extends over to the trackpads. This has a more traditional, just like it's a trackpad, whereas these have the smoother touch to it. Not gonna rival a glass trackpad, but still very nice. And the click on them, let's see here. Universal click and totally fine. Now here, sharper and louder and just more robust feeling. And a bit more uniform. Over here, a little bit shorter travel as well. I actually prefer this. This is my favorite, followed by this, followed by this. These are both very nice. This is good, it's fine. These are both very nice, but I prefer this. It's just a sharper little click. This has a little bit more plunge to it. But otherwise, I mean, it's nitpicking. OMEN Max, the HP OMEN regular, like that. System vitals, this gives you system vitals. The GPU is inactive because we're on battery. I'm on hybrid mode, that's fine. You come in here and you have your different performance modes, right? So you have unleashed. So eco is gonna be like the lowest wattage up to the highest wattage. Right, and so when you come in here, you have unleashed. There's eco mode, which is the coolest, quietest mode. There is not much you're gonna do with this. It's just cooler and quieter. Of course, when you plug it in, it's going to be a little bit different. But we come here balanced. Then you can access auto. The fans will do what it wants. For this laptop, because it's got a big ass vapor chamber in it, the fans just like don't run. But I mean, even on this too, right, you can see over there, they don't run unnecessarily, which you gotta love that. I hate when laptops are just like, I'm doing nothing and the fans are running. Like it just drives me crazy. So I don't like that. This is running nice and cool over here. Very good. Performance mode, then you start to get into some extra stuff over here where you can get performance, like how much extra wattages are you allowed to throw into different parts here. That's totally fine. How much battery, how much are you gonna allow the battery to drain by using extra component power? It's fine. Unleashed, then you can also get some extra stuff here, temperature limits, that kind of stuff. It's fantastic. These are really, really nice performance modes. Of course, you can also come in and you can disable the integrated graphics. So you can be in like a full dedicated graphic mode, or you can go with a hybrid mode. I usually use hybrid mode so that when I unplug the laptop from the wall, my dedicated graphics turn off, right? And then when the dedicated graphics turn off, right, like the GPU turns off, then you're going to use way less battery. But then when you're plugged in and you're using GPU heavy stuff, it'll turn the GPU back on. So that's great. Very nice. Some more performance stuff here, like you can do some overclocking. GPU overclocking is pretty safe on these, right? Like these are not, it's not messing with voltages, and these GPUs are totally fine being like having mild overclocks. It's not gonna cause any problems. Worst case, your system crashes, right? Like you can go like that, and then I understand. And then worst case, your GPU will, your drivers will crash because you're not messing with voltages. You're not gonna cause like problems with anything. So worst case, you get your, you get the GPU to crash out a little bit there. Now, this system is AMD, and it's an AMD non-HX chip, so there's no CPU tuning. It's not possible to tune the CPU on here, just the GPU. If you get this system with a 275HX, you can. You can see here, this is an Intel model with an HX chip, and it does have access to CPU tuning. I have to be plugged into the wall, but you can actually tune the CPU here and the GPU. So I mean, I'm totally comfortable. This is, we can come in here and we can slide up these GPUs. It's the same, it's Blackwell, there's no problems overclocking these GPUs. Okay, we'll do an audio test here now on all three of them. I do suspect that it's gonna be basically the worst, kind of middling and slightly better. These should sound somewhat similar, but I mean, bigger chassis might have a little more resonance. We'll see though. Okay, turn it up, that's around 40%. Okay, over here. Man, that was a tough. That's a tough thing. Very subjective. I mean, this is objectively not as nice. It's still pretty good though for like a budget or more budget-friendly offering. It's not bad. You never know with these laptops. It's not going to win any awards, but it's fine. It's not bad at all. No tinniness, no rattle. A reasonable amount of low end. It's okay. These are both good speakers though. So these are actually like, all right, these are nice laptops with nice speakers. They are good, and for gaming laptops, they are very good. This is a true gaming laptop. This is a hybrid. So I mean, typically, the gaming laptops these days just don't necessarily have good speakers. So this is, definitely a cut above the average. Hybrid type laptops, there's a huge range. They can go from, garbage all the way up to like incredible. This would be, middle upper range. Like they're actually pretty damn good speakers. So yeah, happy with that. Now screens would be a little hard to record, but we'll move these in here. Kind of go like that. Obviously there's difference in screen size. So we have two 16 inches and a 14-inch laptop. So that's different between them, obviously. But they're also not the same screens. So this is going to be an interesting test because this one has its own, right? 1600p on this model here. This laptop you can get with a 1200p screen as well. I've seen both. This is the 1600p, this is 1200p. Depending on what you play, I mean, it's your choice. I will always prefer 1600p because it's just more crisp and you can just use more scaling. If you really need to, you can lower the resolution, but you can't increase the resolution. So when you're using this laptop for professional type tasks and daily use and watching stuff, I mean, that extra resolution is nice. And nowadays, I mean, upscaling is so effective that it's not a big deal. So 240 hertz. So it's a 240 hertz, 1600p nice screen. It's IPS. This one here, 1600p. 240 hertz. It might technically be the same panel. I'm not sure, but it could technically be the same panel. They look fantastic, both of them. Good color space, right? All that looks really, really nice. Very good. And then over here, these are both IPS. And then over here we have an OLED. This one here is 1800p, so actually slightly higher resolution, so even harder to drive. But this one is not so much of a pure gaming laptop as a hybrid, so that extra resolution is okay. Yeah, it makes it a little harder to drive, but it also is better for professional stuff. So I'm okay with that. And again, you can just use more scaling if need be, but you can actually get this laptop with an OLED. You just spec it out. I've already reviewed the OLED, I've already had the OLED. This is the IPS one. So you can get basically this type of screen, this OLED, and blow it up on here. Your pick, right? This one only comes with the OLED. This one you can have the IPS or the OLED. Which one do you choose? Well, let me show you some little stuff here. So you can get IPS screens with 100% DCI-P3 color space, super, super vibrant. You can go down to 100% sRGB, and then you can go down to significantly inferior screens, right? OLEDs are the same. You can get very vibrant, 100% DCI-P3 color screens. You can get sRGB screens. It's just that it's more likely that the OLED would be paired with something like 100% sRGB or 100% DCI-P3 than a crappy screen, because you're already paying for the OLED tech. No one's going to buy an OLED that also then has shitty colors, okay? So typically, the OLEDs are paired with higher color space. Just be aware of that. Not by necessity, okay? I use an IPS screen in my daily all the time, and I switch between stuff all the time. That's 100% DCI-P3. Meaning, if you were to come to a scene like this, and you were to put 100% DCI-P3 OLED versus 100% DCI-P3 IPS, they would look physically identical. There would be no difference. in the colors, okay? Color space has nothing to do with IPS, VA, or OLED. It doesn't mean anything. That's not anything. What OLED has going for it is 100% black contrast ratio, right? So with an OLED, the pixels are physically off in a black scene. They turn off. So there's no light coming out of here. So it appears to be absolute black, right? Or infinite contrast ratio is another way they say that. And that's fine, right? IPS, you don't have that same effect. So you can see on the IPS, well, there's a big reflection there. You can see there on the IPS, turn that up there, just maybe right around there, right about there. Ooh, look at that weird reflection. I don't actually see that, that's weird. With the IPS, right, you don't get absolute black. So you can see there's a little bit of light coming out of it. And if you turn off the lights and get it even darker, it becomes more apparent. Where, you know, the IPS, you know, you don't get absolute blacks in here. You can see there's a little bit of light coming off. In a very dark room, you can notice. When it's bright, you can't tell as much. But that's what you're paying for. With an OLED, you're paying for the absolute blacks. Look at me reflected there. You're paying for those off pixels. So basically in gaming and content consumption, when you're watching shows or you're gaming, you can get a little bit more depth when you're looking at an OLED because it really, you know, it has those absolute blacks and it perceives as darker blacks and it looks more rich. For professional work, you actually don't want DCI-P3, you want IPS. Or sorry, you don't want DCI-P3, you want sRGB, 100% sRGB, because it's more accurate. Potentially more accurate if they're calibrated. So when people are doing, you know, online graphic design or, you know, print media, that kind of stuff, they actually would move their screen into an sRGB color space here, and they would produce their work with this because that's more accurate. DCI-P3 is actually technically oversaturated in many cases. It's capable of showing more colors, so that's great, but it also does that by, like in general, so you can often get exaggeration to the colors here. You end up, so on this screen over here, you end up with, you know, absolute blacks because it's an OLED and very vibrant colors, even if they're over exaggerated. And again, you can get this screen on this one. You would pick the IPS here if you want potentially more accuracy, I suppose, because it's an sRGB color space. Still very vibrant. It's not going to be like those NTSC low budget screens where you walk into like a Best Buy and you look at it and you're like, what the hell is this muddy crap? It's not that. It's still very vibrant. The other difference here, though, is the blacks. So here you're paying for absolute blacks, more richness, potentially more color vibrancy. However, you get the sacrifice of very reflective, right? This is a very reflective OLED. You can see me reflected in there. So if you're working in super bright environments, areas that have a lot of reflections, it's going to be a problem. Right? Very easy to handle reflections here. Like you can see me, but barely. And that's actually slightly over exaggerated. It'd probably be like that. You can see me, but it's much easier to hide that. So what that means is it's easier to just, if you're using your laptop for professional work, generally speaking, you want to get an IPS. Not like as a rule or as a baseline or as a mandatory, but generally you want to move towards an IPS because for one thing, if you get a non-reflective IPS and reflective OLED, it's more likely the OLEDs are reflective. So typically you're going to want to go with a non-reflective screen. So something like this here versus reflective. OLED always has had the risk of burn-in. It's not as bad these days, but this risk is still there, still exists. You don't have that on IPS. And generally IPS is easier on the eyes. If you look at an IPS screen for a super long period of time, especially when you're doing text type stuff, doing work, the IPS will be much less eye fatiguing over time, where the OLED will be more fatiguing over time. If I use an OLED for super long periods of time, it does start to irritate my eyes, I guess I'd say. Not so much if I'm just like playing games or watching shows, I don't notice, but if I'm doing like work, like reading a lot of text, the OLED will start to bother me a little bit sooner. Not as bad these days because the OLEDs are much better than they used to be, but it is still something to be concerned with. So if you want to get the screen that is going to be like absolute black, specifically for gaming and content consumption, that kind of stuff, yeah, you get the OLED on whichever one you get there. It's fantastic. If you're going to be using it as a mixed use, right, professional work, school, all that kind of stuff, and you're okay with sacrificing some blacks, basically, you can go with these here. You get the IPS versions. You get a lot of benefits to them. Unfortunately, you do lose out on the sRGB, the DCI-P3 color space, but it's still fantastic. So this is not a clean cut where it's like, it's a little tougher on this one because we also have different color space between them. But the takeaway here is all of them have very nice, right? Now you can see here, this is the case where it's almost like over exaggerated. Let's just go back slightly here. So this is actually how grass looks. Like this is grass. This is the color of grass. This is like nuclear grass. It's actually too green, right? DCI-P3 pushes too far into the color space. So it over exaggerates the greens. It over exaggerates the red. So it's not actually accurate. That's not how grass looks. Like cameras neutralize things. I spend a lot of time in nature, especially in my life and also my academia and stuff like that. That's not how grass looks. You might be able to get grass that looks that way, but certainly not in a tundra or subarctic. It's not that green. That is like a nuclear reactor green. This is how grass looks. So this is actually significantly more accurate. It's still punchy, still looks nice. So for games and that kind of stuff, especially if we play vibrant games, who cares if it's over exaggerated? Just blast it off the screen. It's lovely. It's going to look fantastic. Yeah, it's a little over exaggerated, but it looks nice. This is a more realistic image. This is more how you walk outside and this is how the world looks. Okay, so now we're going to do some game testing here. These have been running for quite some time, just to see how they go. Let's reset these here. Just dick around with settings. So the thermals have just been running for probably half an hour, put it that way. So this is as hot as they're going to get in this setting. Sitting down, they're actually all sitting on the desk. Let's set them down, make sure they're getting the worst case scenario possible. Now, there is a big difference here. We have the HX CPU from Intel, which is the least efficient of the batch, an AMD 350, which is pretty efficient, and Arrow Lake, which is pretty efficient. So we're going to be doing good there. 5070, but a higher wattage 5070, a lower wattage 5070. 5070 Ti, pretty reasonable. Technically, the 5070 Ti can pull slightly more in some chassis, but we might be a little bit of a CPU limitation here. So over here, 5070 full bore at 110 watts. That's basically as hot and as high as those can go. You're not going to get a 5070 to really run any higher than that. It's just the way that they're designed. You could, even if you dumped more watts into them, it wouldn't really give you any more. That's one of the things here. People still look at these like their 3000 series NVIDIA. 3000 series NVIDIA was very inefficient. Whereas, you added more watts, yeah, it gave you more performance, but as you decreased the watts, they imploded. These Ada, Lovelace, so 4000 series, and Blackwell, 5000 series, they offer maybe not the hugest performance uplift over the 3000 series. They do, but not at staggering. But they do offer massively more efficient operation. So 110 watts here, and the CPU is pulling about 50-60. We're getting about 80 degrees here, and 80 degrees on the CPU. So not super cool, but they're not throttling. This GPU might be a little bit, but it's doing okay. We're really pushing the performance here, obviously. We're getting 108 FPS with 70 loads. That's fantastic, right? Now, we only have 8 gigabytes of VRAM to work with, so there might be a little bit of detexturing to keep it under 8, potentially. Maybe not, but you might be able to see it. Hard to say. Over here, we have the same spec in terms of the GPU, but it's only running at 72. We do have a more efficient CPU, so the CPU is only pulling 30 watts. But it's not like that one's pulling more watts, so it's better. This is an Arrow Lake CPU, it's just more efficient. So we're only getting like a 10 or 11 frame, maybe 13 frame lower over here, but we're only pulling 74 watts. So it's 35 less watts over here for, definitely not, so that's like 35-ish, 35% less watts, but we're certainly not losing 30% performance. So that's something to be aware of there. CPU is also running fairly warm, almost 80 degrees, but the GPU is running 74, so the GPU is not throttling. There's no way it's throttling over here. For a tiny, thin little laptop, it's very impressive, to be honest. Like this tiny little thing here. And again, this is not raised up. When you raise up a laptop, it will run cooler. But I'm giving these like a torture test to do the comparisons here. So just be aware of that. Excellent performance, right? The Arrow Lake 285H is an excellent, efficient CPU, and the GPUs are doing quite well here. Next, okay, we're running out of breath here. 5070 Ti is obviously one step above both of these. So it's the one tier up. You get more VRAM. So we have got extra VRAM here. Where is it? There it is. Extra VRAM here. So we're not crushing the VRAM down. So there'll be, you don't see much, but often NVIDIA, you'll either get performance hitch when the VRAM goes too low, or you get detexturing somewhere. They're kind of not too bad on any of these, but technically, you can crank these systems up even more. With 12 gigabytes, you'll be able to increase the settings even more before you get, micro hitching or detexturing, because it's a 12 gigabyte VRAM GPU versus 8 and 8. Okay, so just be aware of that. GPU here, GPU only at 71 degrees, despite the fact that it's pulling 125 watts. The 3070 Ti can sometimes pull more watts than that, but this is a weaker CPU. The AMD 350 is still very good CPU, but it's not as powerful and raw performance as these two, either of them. So, that's one thing to be aware of. But anyway, so the GPU is running only at 70 degrees despite using more watts, so it's running cooler than both, but at way higher wattages. Big vapor chamber, right? This is what I was talking about before, how cool the system runs. CPU is, you have to use that temperature to be as comparable as possible. Intel reads a little differently, but regardless, the CPU is running cooler than both of them. and it's still using 30 watts. So same watts, you know, much bigger laptop, much better cooling. But this is still very respectable. This is respectable for what it's pulling at the, the more budget-friendly range. And of course, this is a budget-friendly version of the HP OMEN Max. The HP OMEN Max, you can get all up to a 5090, 275HX, yada, 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 yada. This is like a budget offering that still gets you into a 5070 Ti, and it's doing such a good job because they don't nerf the cooling. Okay, so here's a look at the little guy, the little Transcend. You can see nice and cool on top. Even this warm spot here, like I'm not even gonna say hot spot, it's a warm spot. It's like 40, 42 degrees, it's not bad. Even here, you're not gonna be touching that, but even if you were, it's not hot. So nice and cool. Again, lower wattage offering, so you'd hope so. Check the bottom though. Like you could put your thigh on there, it might be a little warm, but it's not gonna burn you. This thing's running very cool. Again, lower wattage offering. That's where the vapor chamber is. A lot of that is just heat leaking through the vapor chamber into the metal bottom, and that's totally fine. It's running well enough, no heat problems. Look at this one over here. This is a much higher wattage system, of course. Still not hot, right? 40 degrees is gonna be warm to touch, but it's not hot. Like that does not burn my finger. I could have my hand on there forever, right? My skin is not that much cooler. Right, so not bad. Everything else nice and cool. Let's look at the bottom. Nice and cool here. Of course, the vents are going to run a little bit hotter, but that's not touching your skin. The actual metal hatching is much cooler. So nothing hot back there, and that's not going to bother you. And this laptop is fully down on the ground or on the desk. Same here, not super hot, little warmer, like some of the spots here, but not too bad. The actual screen is not getting heat on it, so it's not going to burn your hands, it's not going to feel uncomfortable, no problems. Bottom of this one, same idea. It's a plastic bottom, so it's not even going to transfer heat really at all. It's warm, but really it's only warm in the holes, but the skin, where your skin is touching, this is not hot at all. Like this is barely above finger, like hand temperature, the plastic parts. So they're all running very cool. Internally, they're running quite well. And in terms of like the actual surface temperatures, they're running quite well. HP did not cheap out on these laptops for thermals, which you love to see. Fantastic. So they're all very good, right? Highest performance, obviously 5070 Ti. If you wanted more, you can get a 5080 or 5090, but you have to go with Intel. Of course, even the 5070 Ti with Intel would be more powerful than this because it's a better chip. The 255, 275HX are more powerful, but it won't be staggering, right? Because this is still a good chip for gaming. It just will be a little bit more powerful. They'll also run hotter potentially, so just be aware of that. Now we can come in here, we can go to these performance modes. So we'll come in here, we'll come in here, and we'll come in here. Now just be aware, one other thing I do want to point out here, they don't all have the same ability for graphics switching. So this laptop and this laptop cannot disable the iGPU. They can disable the dedicated graphics for battery life, but they can't disable the iGPU. This one can. You can be in hybrid mode, which means it'll turn off the iGPU or the GPU is needed. You can go straight discrete, where it's like, no matter what we do, the iGPU is gone, we're only gonna use dedicated graphics. Just be aware of that. Anyways, it's not that important, to be honest. It might give you a couple extra frames, not a big deal. So we're gonna come right over performance and we're gonna go to balanced. Now, none of them are running loud, but they're all kind of running at the same time. This is the loudest, this is the second loudest, this is the quietest. You barely hear this one over the sound of these. But when we come down here, all of them are gonna get way quieter. So that's the nice thing, like I said, about these Blackwell GPUs. They're very efficient, and these CPUs are relatively efficient. So here, it's a massive decrease in noise, hugely quieter, right? All of them are very, like now this is like, I consider them all like pretty quiet. Again, still the loudest. This one's approaching silent. You can hear it, but it's very quiet. This one is also very quiet. None of them bother me though. This is normally how I would game because they're so much quieter. Performance drop is like negligible, right? We're down to 96, still amazing lows, and we're still at 77 watts. So that's a huge drop in watts there. 33 watts off the CPU, off the GPU. CPU is also down by like 20 watts, 20, 25 watts, and we only lost a few frames, right? They're very efficient. You don't necessarily need all that wattage. Over here, we dropped huge off the GPU from 130-ish down to 90. Like that's a 35 to 40 watt drop off the GPU. CPU is also down 70, so we're pulling way less watts here. And like, what is the performance difference here? Again, negligible. Like maybe 10%, something like that for a huge drop in wattages. So awesome. And temperatures are even lower now, 65 degrees and 65 degrees, so like super cool now. This is also down, obviously, 73 and 70, so running 10 degrees cooler. Not necessarily 10 degrees cooler, but it wasn't hot in the first place, so now it's even like super cool. Over here, right, GPU's down way low, 55, 56, which is still performant for a 5070, right? These are efficient chips, and you can see that because we're still getting 85 frames. CPU's also down. So that's the nice thing about these Transcends. Yes, they don't have the peak performance of something like this. Like it's a 285H and it is a 5070. This whole system can pull way less wattages than this system over here. But it's still doing amazing. It's only 10 frames less. So it depends what you want, right? If you want peak performance out of 5070, this will give it to you. It's also cost less. This one here, it costs a little bit more. It's a hybrid laptop. It's not a true gaming laptop. It's not focused purely on cooling or anything. But HP absolutely effing nailed it. If you watch my review of this one where I compare it to the G14 from Asus, I much prefer the HP OMEN. Much prefer, even though it's slightly lower peak performance, because they do such a good job with the cooling and the noise. This one obviously is very good. If you want more performance, you get Intel, go up to 50, even the 57 Ti, go up to 5080, 5090, get more performance. You pay more money, but whatever. The nice thing about this one is it's so quiet. It's so quiet because that huge vapor chamber and the efficiency. It's just an awesome system. And it's cost less. Another thing to note here, the fan noise isn't annoying. Regardless of whether they were full volume or really quiet, the fans are so damn tolerable in these systems because of the shape of them. When I did the teardown, remember I was talking about that? The shape of the fans, they all have the same shape. They're not going to be annoying. They're going to be quiet, not necessarily quiet, that's the right term. They're going to be tolerable fans where they don't make weird hissing noises or vibrating noises or any irritating sounds coming out of the fans. They will not drive you crazy like some laptops. The G14 and the G16, for example, from Asus, I do not like their fans. They have those weird shark tooth fans. They drive me nuts because they're super loud and super pitchy and whiny. Silent mode, it doesn't do much to this one. It brought the GPU down a little bit, but not really much. The CPU came down a little bit. Of course, the performance therefore didn't really change. You can't bring the CPU down too much necessarily, I guess. It's probably where it wants to be. Surprised the GPU doesn't come down further. It could. Like that silent mode's a little conservative, or not conservative, because you could bring that down even more and it would be even quieter and it would run very well, but they just are not allowing that, I suppose. Here, the silent mode, I mean, we're down to 80 watts. So this is the same GPU, 75 to 80, 75 to 80, 88 versus 101. So you can see there's the scaling of the 5070 versus the 5070 Ti. It's just the 5070 has better GPU, right? Even at those decreased wattages, we're still 15-ish% higher at the same like-for-like watts. And technically the CPU is about the same as well. So these systems are running around the same watts and we're getting more performance over here because 5070 Ti, it's more powerful. Also more VRAM. It's also running cooler. More VRAM. So I mean, the 5070 even I've said it, it's not like the best GPU because value-wise, right? You're paying so much more than a 5070 to 50, paying so much more than a 5060 to go to 5070, potentially $200-300, and you're getting like a few percent more, and then you can jump up to 5070 Ti potentially for more money and get not necessarily a huge bump in performance, 10 to 15%, but you do get more VRAM, which is really nice. However, prices are changing now. The market is more mature now, and I'm starting to see 5070 laptops go down in price. 5070 Ti laptops have also dropped in price, but they're still demanding a premium. So there still is a premium for the 5070 Ti. This AMD model offering a very good value overall, but they're starting to separate out a little bit more. And you can see, close this off here, over here we're at 50 watts. It's super low on a GPU and we're still pulling almost 80 FPS, right? We're like 6 frames behind that. And we're at lower watts, so, and the CPU is only pulling 20. So the OMEN Transcend in some ways wins. It's just such a champion. It's just such like a tiny little Peasley hybrid laptop, and it's able to give you this level of performance. And I really think that vapor chamber comes in clutch here, keeping it cool and quiet. It's just not an annoying laptop. Of course, the OMEN Max is just so over-designed. The internals are so over-designed for what it has, especially with the 5070 Ti. They do such a good job. And then this one here, I was a little worried about this one being, the more budget. And I've seen some people pan them, like these just OMEN 16, the non-Max. They're like, oh, they're okay. No, man, this is a good laptop. Like, this is running very well. It feels premium. Yes, it has more plastic, but it's running very well. Like, you can see it. Now, I want to show you some general battery tests here. So this is at 60 hertz. That's the lowest it can go. This is at 60 hertz as low can go. This thing at 60 hertz, but you can do down to 48, but we'll just do 60. We can do 48 later, which will help with battery a little bit. Just kind of dicking around here, just not like, it's not truly idling, it's just I'm not doing much on them. And we can just check the battery usage here. So this one here, it's actually doing better than I thought. So we're on iGPU mode on all of them. About 12 watts being burned or so, right? When it was truly idling, it was down to like 10 or so. But these HX chips, I don't know, I feel like they used to be much worse. But again, drivers and things come along, and it's idling a little bit better than it used to be. It's not bad, honestly. The AMD one here, it's doing a little bit more. Potentially margin of error because there's more software on this one. So they're like, it's dropped down a little bit there. The AMD one here should be slightly more efficient, but there's just more crap on the system. This is my actual PC. But generally speaking, they'll peak up a little bit around 20, but they sit around 10 watts idle, approximately 10 watts idle between them. And then the Arrow Lake over here is definitely the most efficient. Even when it's like kind of peaking, it's going up to only 10, and it will idle all the way down to 5. And this is confirmed. I mean, I've already tested this laptop many times. I had the 5060 model, and I used the 285H as my daily driver for months. It's just the most efficient. So the 285H here is by far going to be the most efficient when you're just idling, hanging out. It'll just give you the most battery. Even though it's a slightly smaller battery, you might get slightly more battery life. You can see it's just still going down, but it'll be pretty close because this has a bigger battery. It's slightly less efficient, ever so slightly less efficient, but it's a bigger battery. Right now this is up to 22, and this is up to 12, right? And it's staying at 22. This is staying at 10. I don't know if you can see that, but this is 10, this is 22. So this is still doing like 11, 10 to 11. So it didn't do anything, right? Idle will be 5 or 6 on this. Doing something pretty like standard is gonna be about 10. Over here, we're getting up to about 15. It's still not bad, but it's pulling more. This one here, potentially what's going on, you're gonna pull a little bit more depending, right? Once it's done buffering, that kind of stuff, right? YouTube is pretty static. You can see it's at 20 there. So battery life is gonna be like this: best, medium, worst. But they're all reasonable. Like none of these are bad laptops for battery. So I think you're gonna be fine with all of them. If battery obviously matters the most, obviously the Arrow Lake is gonna be the most efficient. This is also very good, and this is decent for 14th gen. I'm actually very impressed by the 14th gen. So let's wrap it up now. Okay, let's close it out. We have some different options here. We have the HP OMEN. This is the League of Legends edition. I mean, it's very similar to the standard one, but this one you get those League of Legends fixins, which is obviously nice. This is the OMEN Max, which has a lot of different options. This is the OMEN Transcend. I have experience with these two, a lot of experience with this. This is my first time with this one here. What do I think of them? Okay, well, if you're looking for a portable hybrid style laptop, the OMEN Transcend is the one that you want to get over here. The OMEN Transcend is an incredible hybrid use laptop. It doesn't have the highest wattages, but the Arrow Lake CPU and the Blackwell GPU are an efficient combo. You're gonna get really good performance despite the lower watts, vapor chamber cooling, not annoying fans, super premium. Don't sleep on these. 4050, 4060, you can get these in all white, which is super nice. Really nice laptops. I compared this to the G14 from Asus, and I much preferred the OMEN Transcend. It's an excellent laptop. If you want something that's very portable, very premium, you're okay to lose a little bit of performance for that premium and portability. This guy over here is going to be the budget offering. Compared to a lot of the competitors on the market, it can be around the same price as a lot of the competitors. It's way better than a lot of them for what it's offering. It gets pretty damn good battery life on the Intel one. I'm surprised. There's an AMD offering. Probably won't get as good battery life on the AMD, but it'll also be really good. The 5070 and the 5060, you can get these with, full power, whatever. The fans in that don't run super annoying. They're nice internals on these. You can get a 1200p screen if you don't care about the resolution so much. This is the 1600p screen. It's excellent. It's excellent. Feels nice and premium. It's great. For the price especially, it's great. I think a lot of people can buy into this HP over here and really enjoy it. It's an awesome laptop. It's way better than I thought it would be because I saw some reviews and people were like, meh, meh, meh. No, this is a very nice laptop. I'm quite impressed with it. Then there's the the OMEN Max. Obviously, it's the best. It's one of the best in class gaming performance laptops that focuses on performance and cooling, but at the same time is very sleek and unassuming, right? It's the least assuming pure gaming laptop. All of the other ones on the market, I mean, you get like the Legions, which are kind of a little bit more subdued. than some of the other brands, and then you start to move into like really like obvious gaming laptops. This one is like the least like gamer. It just looks like a day-to-day laptop. Of course, you can get some RGB to spice it up a little bit. Crazy good performance, right? Vapor chamber cooling, even on the 5070 Ti model, means it runs super cool, super quiet. The AMD offering is going to be the quietest of them. So if you really care about quietness, it's also the cheapest. You can get this one for the cheapest right now. Keep your costs down, get into a 5070 Ti laptop for a good price. You can get the OLED if you want, or you can get the IPS, your choice. So it's lots of customizability here. I got this one custom built from HP. I just spec'd it out how I wanted, something different than I've tested before. So you can get the OLED if you want, right? Go that route. You can get a lower GPU if you want. You can go that route. Or you can jump over to the Intel models. The Intel models with the same 5070 Ti will give you obviously more CPU performance. Won't make a huge difference in games, maybe a little bit, but not a huge difference. But it will make a big difference in like CPU tasks. Like I do CPU things, and that will make a difference there. But with the Intel, you also unlock the 5080, 5090. Bang for your buck right now. This is probably one of the best laptops on the market right now. You get that that AMD 350. You can also get the 370, which will give you better performance. You might want to get it if you're okay with that extra $100 or whatever. You get an excellent 5070 Ti here. It's going to run super cool because that vapor chamber cooling, crazy good internals. Pick the screen you want. This specific config might be the best value 5070 Ti in the market. There might be a couple cheaper. I'm not even sure if there are. I haven't seen any cheaper 5070 Ti's, and those ones are definitely not as good quality. So you're getting all of the fixins of the HP OMEN Max that you might not get on some of the other ones, the Acers and the Legions and that kind of stuff. At this price bracket, you're going down a tier to the lower tier. This one has all the fixins, so it's fantastic. So I like all of them. They're actually really good. HP did a very good job with the OMENs this year. The thin hybrid use laptop kills it. It's a really nice laptop. One of my favorite 2025. The HP OMEN Max is an excellent laptop. 5070 Ti, obviously a really good pick here. The OMEN over here, massively better than I thought it would be. And in the budget category, this is also a very easy pick because they do a really good job with this laptop, even at the lower cost. So this might be like a really good year to get into HP here. Like we're into 2026 now, but you can still pick these laptops up, these literal laptops. This might be a good time. Really consider the HP offerings here. They're very good. The only quirks that I found with the the OMEN here, especially the OMEN Max, the USB-C charging doesn't max out. You only get 35 watts on the Max. HP needs to address that. HP, you need to address that. Fix the USB-C protocol here because I don't always want to take the barrel plug with me. Yes, you can plug it in USB-C, disable the dedicated graphics, be unintegrated, and it runs totally fine on USB-C. But if you want to have access to the NVIDIA graphics on USB-C, give me the 100 watts for just basic stuff. Obviously, this is only USB-C, so it's totally fine. So, I mean, really nice laptops here. Really, really nice laptops here. I like all of them. The middle one is mine. I've been using it for months or weeks, almost about a month now. It's awesome. And the other two are fantastic. It's hard to say. I really like that Transcend. Like they're really nice. I wouldn't get it in black personally. I would get the white one because because it exists. I'd get it. And I wish the 5070 Ti AMD model also came with white. Unfortunately, it doesn't. But yeah, get the black one. It's fine. It's also really nice and semi-resist fingerprints. So awesome laptops.